when the so-called DREAM Act legislation passed in Annapolis. Soon thereafter, a group of delegates, including Delegate Parrott from Washington County and Delegate McDonough from Baltimore County, got together and decided they were going to try to get this on referendum. So Help Save Maryland was part of the petition drive. In fact, we were a very key cog in that process because we have members all over the state. And this is really what these two gentlemen needed to get the petitions out and collect signatures from each county. So we were part of that process. Now, Mr. Sandler, who is former, I guess he's still very heavily affiliated with the Democratic Party, tried every which way to stop the petition drive when it first began, because I guess the key issue was the electronic signatures Delegate Parrott was collecting. And then after we got twice as many as needed, I think 130,000 signatures were collected in about 2 months, which was an amazing process. He then took that to court. You know, first they told us that it was really going to be no cost, in fact a benefit to Maryland, but you know, he's a high-paid lawyer. He takes the union dues and whatever else he can get and uses it to come up with any argument to try to tie this up. So he thought this was actually a delaying tactic, I think at best, to try to stop us in the momentum we had put together, but in fact I think it backfired on him, and that it kept it in the press. You know, thank you, Joe. Same thing with his little note to the Board of Elections about us. Since we don't have the unions backing us, since Governor O'Malley refuses to have a fundraising dinner with us, we will take the press as we can get it. So yeah, this is typical. We see this around the country, not just here in Maryland. When the legislation passed, the state told us maybe a few $100,000 and maybe in 3 or 4 years a couple of $1 million. I like to look at that kind of the tooth-to-tail ratio here. This group, the Casas, the Joe Sandlers, the Democrats, and the SEIU are just focusing on this small cost of the in-state versus out-of-state. Well, the tail to all this, I've already paid for K through 12 for these students. And in Montgomery County, that's a good 200,000 plus when you add ESOL programs and translators, etc. Montgomery County, we have free medical care, health care, mental health, dental health, prescription drug for illegal aliens and their families. The costs are tremendous. So this is all out there, and I've already paid this, but they're just arguing this little piece. We estimate, and this is Federation for American Immigration Reform, about $1.9 billion a year free non-emergency health care, education K through 12, incarceration costs, just those three. I'm not talking day labor centers, I'm not talking crime, gang violence. All these costs are out there. No one's looking at those. Let's not discuss those. Let's just discuss this. So it is a tremendous cost, a tremendous, tremendous cost. The most aggressive in wanting to sign were, in fact, legal immigrants. And that included a lot of Hispanics who got here legally. Their families were brought here. They waited years. They wanted to become Americans. They signed. So I think they're not going to be very vocal, because the Joe Sandlers and the Casas and the O'Malleys like to crush anyone who has a different view. But I think those are the people who are going to sign. And Asians, Indians, you name it, who were immigrants were angry that a group of illegal immigrants would come here and demand yet another service from the state. Now, I don't like Casa of Maryland, but I respect their organization, their ability. I mean, Gustavo Torres, the head of Casa, has sat down with the president multiple times over the past 2 years discussing immigration policy. I mean, that is amazing to me. The guy, you know, got here on I think a phony marriage, and he was a radical down in South America, and he's here now running a multi-million-dollar organization, getting money from the feds. Department of Labor gives them grants for things. Wow. But it's my money that he's taking and using for these things. So sure, this is all part of the puzzle, that they have laid out a great strategy between the unions, who will take these illegals and plug them into their service employees. They're taking jobs from African Americans and other Maryland citizens. The party views this as the undocumented Democrats. That's the term they've coined. They want them to all become citizens. And the illegal students are just, again, kind of this tail to tooth to tail. The illegal students are a very small number compared to brothers and sisters and other family members that were born here that are now automatically citizens. This has unfortunately not been challenged in the Supreme Court. So there is a huge pool of legal Hispanics here now that will, you know, if Casa has their way, they will vote however they're told. So I see the party in power trying to, sure, bring them in, make them citizens, provide them with services, and they're good for life, for votes.